Sometimes life is overwhelming and we don't know what to do, and grief just sucks, doesn't it? I'm Dave Matthews from Spark of Life, where our mission is to walk beside those who are grieving, and I want to share a story with you today. I was thinking about stories that have changed my life, and that might give you a little bit of hope, just a little nugget to hold on to today, and maybe one suggestion to help you live forward with all your pain that you're experiencing. Maybe you know somebody who you could share this story with. I was preaching in a church in Michigan, and it was many years ago. I was in my young 40s, and I was doing the preachery thing of standing in the back as people were exiting the building after a service, hoping one out of 500 or 600 people would say those words, "Good job, David," wanting to get at least one of those attaboys. And this couple I'd never met, obviously from out of town, started talking to me. They were from Alabama. They had come to Michigan because their the husband, John's aged father, was in the nursing home. He was celebrating his 90th birthday, and John's wife was with him. They were in their 60s, in their late 60s, and they hadn't seen the father in a long time. They asked me if I knew him, and I said, yes, I know him. I visit him and his wife in the nursing home every other week or so. And I said, I remember them because he was very upset that when they went to the nursing home, the nursing home did not allow them to share a room together, though they were husband and wife. He was complaining about that. I complained with him. I thought it was awful. I wanted to do something about it, but I had no power there or authority. And I said, yes, I know your dad, John. I like him. I always felt safe with John's dad because, you see, I could be myself with him. I could say anything I wanted to him. Well, number one, he was 90 years old. Number two, he was in a hospital bed and couldn't get up. And number three, he was deaf almost. He couldn't hear half of what I was saying, so I wasn't afraid of him at all. But he was a crotchety old man, if I may use that word, whatever that means. Crusty. I think my nickname for him was Crusty. And so they went to see him that afternoon to celebrate his 90th birthday. And on Monday, I was at my office, and I get a phone call from John's wife, the 60-something-year-old couple that had come to see John's father. And she said, David, would you please pray for John? He is in the hospital. He has suffered a massive heart attack. While we were visiting the father yesterday afternoon in the facility, the nursing home, he had this massive heart attack, and he is close to death. We don't know if he's going to make it. We think he might. So long story, I went to the hospital, went into the intensive care room. They let me in, and the wife is in the intensive care room. He's hooked up to all these tubes. He's conscious, but barely, but he can hear, but he can't talk. And I say my, expected words of comfort. Didn't know what to say except we're praying for you, and is there anything I can do for you? And she said, I'd like to tell you the story. And she looked at her husband in the bed and said, John, can I tell David what happened yesterday? Well, she did. He nodded, and she did. He was sitting on the bed in the nursing home with his aged father, sitting on the edge of the bed. She was in a chair. He was talking to his dad, and suddenly John, her husband, grasped his chest, screamed in pain, and collapsed in his aged father's arms. The father's laying there in bed, and he's cradling his son, who has had this massive heart attack. And she tells me the rest of the story, how the father is crying, saying, son, please don't die. Please don't die, son. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Please don't die. And I thought, wow, what a story. What a story. And she said, well, that's not all the story. The rest of the story is, that's the first time in my husband's 68 years of living that he had ever heard his father use the words, I love you, to his own son. He had never heard the words from his dad that his dad loved him. Wow. I looked at John in the bed with all the tubes, big old tears coming down his face. John died about 3 months later. He died in his home in Alabama. His wife had called me to tell me months later. And I thought to myself, well, John died happy. He finally knew his father loved him. I don't know if death stories inspire you. I mean, you have probably undergone the death of a dear person to you, a husband, a wife, a child, maybe the death of a dream, maybe somebody left you and hurt you deeply. I just know that grief overwhelms us at times, and it just knocks us to the canvas, and we don't even know where to go for hope. I know this story inspires me because of an aged father's words to his son encouraged his son for his last 3 months of his life. The words that the old man said to his son encouraged his son's wife, who in turn encouraged me, and I'm in turn trying to encourage you with maybe a suggestion that you can do today that could help you have more hope as you suffer your own losses. To call somebody, to write somebody that maybe needs to be encouraged with words like, I don't know what to say, but I want you to know I love you. I'm sorry for whatever you're going through. Or maybe just words from somebody you haven't said that to in a long time. Maybe somebody you're estranged from, or maybe it's a son or daughter you haven't said that to in quite a long time. Or maybe it's mom and dad. Or maybe you said it last week and maybe they need to hear it again. I'm thankful for a crotchety old man in a nursing home in Michigan in the 1990s that was so desperate as he held his son that he said those words his son longed to hear for so many years. I love you. Maybe it'll give you encouragement today. At Spark of Life, we believe there's always hope. I love you.